What's the last thing someone said to you before they died? My grandma told me she loved me and how I saved her life by buying her that cordless phone, 90s, because she was just laying on the bathroom floor, but she carried it with her like I told her and was able to call for help. She had crocheted a bag for it. She was in the end stages of cancer, and I was driving up 4 hours every weekend to stay with her. I bought the phone a few weekends before and told her to take it with her. She'd never had a cordless phone, so it was a big deal for her. She religiously kept it charged and on her when she got up. She told me she'd see me that weekend. She died that night. But she died in a bed, with care around her. Not on the bathroom floor alone. My mother was at the end stage of leukemia. I called her to see how she was doing. She was pumped full of morphine and close to the end. She told me she loved me, and we hung up the phone. My dad called not too long after and said she was near the end and I needed to get on a flight immediately. I caught the next flight out to see her before she passed away. My uncle picked me up from the airport and informed me she had died while I was on the plane. See you tomorrow. My father on the phone. I found him dead in his house the next day. Fell, cracked his head open. Edit. It's amazing to see how people are opening up with their own stories and sharing advices and virtual hugs. Thank you, Redditors, for turning my comment into a place of comfort. Oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. This is the type of crap people go through, and strangers don't even realize what a person has endured in life. Treat people right. Lots of people have had many traumatic experiences already, or endured a lot of bad events in life. Edit. Thanks for awards, never got any on Reddit. Glad you liked comments content. Be a good chap. My grandfather. ETA, for those asking, I do try to be good. To be kind and respectful to others, to give what I can when I can, to stop and help when it's needed. I'm by no means perfect, no one is, but striving to be better for others is the best any of us can do, and what he was like right up till the end. He was so loved by the community. The church at his funeral had people standing in the wings, and it had a capacity of 1,000. He actually was forced to retire as a GP by grandma at like 75, but still snuck out to see patients. He had a practice behind the house with a few doctors. Oh, it's fine, just a bump to the head. I'll take a painkiller and have a nap. Love you. My mom died of a brain hemorrhage 5 hours later. Edit. Thank you for the kindness and awards. I'm really touched. X. My dad said I'm going to pass out. I'm passing out, then died in my arms. Edit. Wow, thanks for all the comments and the hugs and things. Nice surprise waking up to 100 comments. My dad had a heart attack in our apartment, and we were trying to get to a hospital when he collapsed in the parking lot. I'm fine, don't worry about me. My grandfather had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and refused all treatment. In his words, I'm 86 years old, what the hell is the point? The last time I saw him he looked bad and was clearly in a lot of pain, but he kept insisting that he didn't want anyone making a big fuss over him. He died 3 days later. The feel of accepting death wakes a huge dreadful feeling in me. Sorry for your loss. I just hope that when it gets to be my time, that I do feel acceptance and not extreme regret and dread. The last words I had with my late husband before he went in for surgery: me, love you. Him, love you more. Sorry for your loss. A man who helped raise me died about 2 days after I saw him last. Our final interaction was him telling the most embarrassing story about me to my new girlfriend. Thanks, Steve. It's what he would have wanted to end on. I'd like to think so too. The last conversation I remember having with my grandpa before he died, he asked me if I was still playing guitar, and I said I was. My grandpa tells me every time I see him how much it makes him happy that I play. Grandmother said, take good care of Missy. Missy was her beloved cat. Almost the same here. My grandmother was being escorted out by the ambulance workers, and the last thing she said to me was he needs 2 types of food. I'm sorry we didn't talk as much as you wanted. My grandpa's last words. My grandpa, on the phone. I wish we could have met. He lived in New Zealand, I live in Australia. I had met him, many times. Tore me up inside that it had been so long since I'd visited him that he'd forgotten me. It's not you, I promise. When my grandpa was gradually getting worse dementia, my dad visited him 3-5x a week and talked to him on the phone multiple times a day, usually the same conversation, because grandpa forgot. Even with that, every time dad saw him, grandpa would, sometimes gently, sometimes not, chide him for never coming to see me. I think I've posted this before, but one of the hardest moments of my life came when I walked into the ICU after my grandma had a stroke. This woman had my family at her house for my first few years, watched me every day after school, and was at every important milestone in my life. She looked at me and had no idea who I was. I'll never forget that, and it hurts terribly to think about. A family friend said, "Hot day, isn't it?" He died few hours after due to heat stroke. Tucked in my girlfriend, kissed her good night, told her I loved her. AMD would see her in the morning. She kissed me back, said love you babe, and she passed that night. I found her in the AM when I went to kiss her goodbye before I left for work. ETA, I am totally floored by the traction this seems to have gotten. First, thank you so much for the love, condolences, and stories that you all have shared with me. I am both in awe and honored. Second, I am getting through, one foot in front of the other. Some days are better than others. Thirdly, she died of complications from a number of things she had going on. Type 1 diabetes, arthritis, fibro, congestive heart failure, and reduced kidney function. And it didn't help, she spent half of DEC, pretty much all of Jan, and nearly half of February in the hospital from complications stemming from breaking her ankle, pneumonia, and an infection in her hardware for the broken ankle. So this wasn't totally out of the blue. But it still sucks. I've learned it never gets better, you just get used to the idea that they're gone. To some of the younger Redditors, don't be afraid to love, deeply, honestly, openly, it's worth the pain that sometimes comes. When we go, the only things we leave behind are the stories people tell and the memories we've made. So, enough of me being maudlin, I'm going to have another beer or two and go to bed. I want to live. I don't want to be fed and watered and turned to the sun like some kind of plant. Since this blew up, he did die. He was going in for brain surgery and the outcome was questionable. Him saying that made it a lot more possible for me to consent to withdrawing life support when it became necessary. 99-year-old grandfather after recurring mini heart attacks over a couple of weeks. Tell, wife, I said hello, I will see you later, with his slight grin and a wink. He knew, I knew, we all knew. Great guy, and always had a great attitude under any circumstance he faced. I won't leave you, I never will, I love you. My grandma calling me by my Indian name and telling me she loves me. She died a week later from ALS. The one that always will stick with me was when I was working on the ambulance, got called to a home during a blizzard for a 35-year-old male seizing and foaming at the mouth. Me and my partner and a trainee I had with me go and respond, and while en route get an update that patient was now conscious and admitted to ingesting poison intentionally. Poison control and medical control call us to advise he admitted to use strychnine, a potent nerve toxin used in the old days for rodent control on farms or industrial sites primarily. We get up to the house and I start talking to him, get info established, give him activated charcoal per med control, and he is completely honest with me. He tells me he took it cause he had been fighting depression and anxiety for years and work finally put him over the edge. While his girlfriend was in the shower, he mixed it into his drink and chugged it and took some sleeping aids hoping he would pass in his sleep and be less traumatic for his girlfriend. He went to bed like nothing was wrong and his girlfriend came out to find him seizing on the bedroom floor. He grabbed me by the shirt, and he said, "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I did this to you." He seized again while holding my shirt and began to vomit and aspirate. He went pulseless shortly after and me and the trainee did CPR for 16 minutes, unable to travel in the storm. That is one of many calls that will stay with me forever. On a coaching course for a week. How are you guys? Last WhatsApp message from my brother. I never responded because I was too busy. This one kind of hits me harder than most of them here. Sometimes we just keep living, sometimes we go on weeks or months without catching up, and in that time something can happen. The worst is how sudden it is, no crescendos or legendary send-offs with well-though words. You just find out. Bye, beautiful, drive safe. I said always. He took his own life the next day. We've been together for 22 years. My mom fell into a coma about a week before she died from lung cancer. Don't smoke, but the last time I saw her conscious, she called me by my childhood nickname and said she loved me and was proud of me. In terms of a parent's last words, it was the best thing she could have said. I still tear up when I think of it, 10 years later. The last thing my dad said to me was, "My sister is taking me to the hospital, I'm not feeling well. Tell your daughter I said I love her too and I will see you guys soon." He went into surgery and never woke up. Died 4 days later. The day before my grandfather slipped into his last sleep, my car broke down. He heard about it and gave me a lot of money when I visited him. The last thing he said to me, "I wanted to see you smile for one last time." For me, my grandfather was lending me his truck so I could take my stuff for my second year of university. Last thing I heard him say was, "Don't forget to check the oil." Died about 2 weeks later suddenly. My dad and I took that truck to the funeral, and on the way there the oil light came on. Because you forgot to check the oil. My father was mostly nonverbal and not lucid while declining from cancer. I was sitting bedside when he suddenly woke up and started getting out of bed. "Where are you going, Dad?" I asked. He looked at me, his eyes twinkling above a huge smile, and said, "I'm going to get some ice cream, boy." Edit. There was no way he could support himself at that point, so I got him back in bed, then ran to get ice cream. He was lapsing back when I returned, but he did have some ice cream. I'm pretty sure those were his last words to the world. Edit 2. Many thanks for the responses and awards. It is cathartic to share this memory with you. I like to think my father would have appreciated the humor of the moment as well. This entire thread has been a roller coaster of emotion. The mix of slow fades and unexpected departures remind us that no one knows when the end will arrive, but that someone will remember our last words to them. This is really common. At a certain point, cancer can actually destroy the brain's ability to feel pain, and the patient suddenly feels better than they have in a long time. My late wife, in home hospice care, was mostly nonverbal when suddenly she sat up in her hospital bed, pointed at me and said, You are taking me to brunch, I don't care where, but you're taking me." We all went to Bob Evans, and she died less than a week later. Don't stop writing. My dad, brother and I were heavily into mountain biking. My dad found a group through his work that rode their bicycles in a group on the weekend. I was a teenager at the time, but I became friends with an older lady named Joyce. On a road ride one morning, all the slower people, me, my dad, Joyce and a few others, were drafting off each other. When it was my turn, I accidentally clipped Joyce's handlebar and she went down hard. Now it was a nasty fall, but it wasn't bad enough to cause anything serious. Her protective gear should have saved her, but she was down. She was in a lot of pain and couldn't move without crying. We ended up having to call an ambulance. 14-year-old me was distraught that I hurt her so bad. A week or two later we get a call. Joyce had advanced stage cancer and the unexplained extreme pain from the fall was related to it, and that was how the doctors discovered it. I'll cut this short, the meds didn't work, and she was told she had less than 6 months. When it was our turn to visit her, she let me know that she doesn't blame me for what happened, and that I shouldn't let this stop me from writing. Don't stop writing. My aunt's last words that I heard from her were, "You've grown so much," as I was a little kid, about 5, and she hadn't seen me for a while. The sheer innocence and love in that phrase is what I associate with my aunt now, and she was amazing. My friend in college died by suicide. He sent me a message on FB Messenger saying I need a hug. But FB Messenger glitched, Didn't send me the notification, and I didn't see the message until after it happened. Painful to remember. Hey man. Happy New Year. We still don't know what it is for sure. Probably leukemia or lymphoma. I will probably be here for another month or so, but can't say for sure. Take care of your health. This is the most pain and the most effed up I've ever been in my life. Be well, good friend. I look forward to smoking a joint with you and telling the tale of how I conquered cancer. A text message I received right before he went into a coma that he would never come out of. Thank you everyone for the awards and upvotes. Hey, want to finish the Diablo 2 run when I get back? One of my buddies. We were in Iraq. Edit, I didn't think this would even really see the light of day. It was more of a well, might be a good thing to rip the scab off. It helped, even replying where I did. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.